where we put the spotlight on sports in our community. Today in studio, I have a longtime friend of mine, Mr. Philip Bryant, and him and his squad have been the talk of the town over the past several months. He's the president, and also he coaches one of the teams for the Hartford Hurricanes. Along with him today, we have Mr. Kiyan Gillespie, who also plays for the Pee Wee team for the Hartford Hurricanes. Before we get started, Phil, you know, and it's one thing that I like to talk about is that, again, I've known you for a long time, and this is why having you on the show is very special to myself. You know, we grew up in a little housing projects over there on Bedford and Garden Street area. We, you know, we can sit and laugh about it, you know, but again, this is why that connection is probably there now, it's gonna always be there. And it's so funny because, you know, just growing up playing sports, it seemed like it started with basketball, transferred over to football at a young age. But again, just to see yourself developing in a way that you have as a young man and then moving on to, again, just embrace the community and do as many things that you have done in the community. And now you obviously, like I said, you moved on to be the president and then coaching the Hartford Hurricanes. So the first question I want to ask you, Phil, is now, what has your experience been? And can you give us a little background of the Hartford Hurricanes?
Yeah, it's funny. The Hurricanes started actually back in the Hartford League. What happened was I was driving down the street one day and I was passing Bowes Park and there was some kids, like 5 kids, playing there, and so previously they were called the Hartford Raiders or something like that. But actually, when I drove by, they had quit on the kids. So the kids was out there saying nobody, you know, wanted to coach us. Right. So basically, in a nutshell, I took over. We jumped into the Hartford League. We won, many titles in the Hartford League. In 2009, I wanted something more for the youth in Hartford. Right. You know, they was playing 5 games a season, practicing for 2 months. To me, I saw other youth around the state being exposed to bigger and better things, but our youth was closed in the Hartford League, so I felt like I wanted to give them an opportunity to get national exposure. Right. And that's why we joined Pop Warner in 2009, and then from there, we just took off.
Right, and now, from my knowledge, I don't know much about the Pop Warner League. You know, I got an opportunity to play. All I knew was I'm playing midget league football growing up. You know, I had an opportunity to play for the Stars back then and the Outlaws. But for me, it was just playing midget league football. Right. Now I hear it's some Little League versus Pop Warner and all of this. Can you explain a little bit more about the difference?
Pop Warner is the biggest youth football program in the nation. So you have teams in like all 50 states. Okay. The difference with Pop Warner is national. Everybody follow the same rules. So the rules that we ask in Hartford is the same rules they ask in California. Okay. That's very unique. In a nutshell, Pop Warner is the only league that also you have to have a 2.0 grade point average to participate. So if you're failing, we have to, as an organization, I have to help to bring you up to that C average, or else you got to be dropped off the team. Right. So, you know, we have scholastic directors and people that work with schools just to make sure that, you know, these kids maintain the grade point average, because you can't go in the playoffs or go into Disney World or any of that without having the education right.
Right, and I know as a president, obviously you got to cover a wide gamut of things other than just being a specific coach of that particular team. Right. But with that, I know there's a wide age range as well as several teams that play. Can you give us a little breakdown on that?
Yeah, we cover ages 5 to 15, and we go from the lowest weight of 35 pounds to no weight limit, unlimited. So it's wide. Last year we had 6 teams. This year we're going to have 9. We're adding an additional 5 and 6-year-old team, an additional 6 and 7, and an unlimited team where there's no weight limit. Because we want to kind of help out the guys that's a little bigger, because they want to participate in football and give them an opportunity to learn before they enter high school. Right. You know, and I think that'll help out the high school sports.
Right, right. Now, with the team that you coached this year, you know, that was the Pee Wee team?
Yeah, the Pee Wee team.
Now, what was your experience, your personal experience with coaching them? How was that?
It's funny. I always coached the 14-year-olds. I never went down. And it wasn't my plan to coach them at all. I actually put 2 different staffs with that team, and it didn't work out. For me personally, though, I think it was a fulfilling experience, because I got to work with younger children that I thought would be, you know, they wouldn't accept me as much as the 14-year-olds, but they actually accepted me more, and they took in the knowledge a lot quicker than previous years when I coached the 14-year-olds. And that was an experience that I wasn't I thought that this was gonna be hard, and I was gonna have to teach and teach and teach and teach. And sometimes I would implement something, and then it would be like, okay, coach, what's next? You know, and I'd be sitting there like, wow, I had planned on teaching this for 2 weeks. Now I can move on. So the experience for me was great. It was easier than the process. But to be honest, I think that this was one of the most fulfilling years of coaching for me. Not just for the championships and all that, but just the kids that I got to coach on that team was like well experienced.
You know, and probably a testament to that is because when those kids are younger, their minds are more open to learning new things. When you got those older kids, they already been taught so many different things, so it's kind of hard to kind of get in there. That's right. And now you have one of your players here today, Mr. Kion Gillespie. Now I got a question for you. Now, first of all, what made you want to play Pop Warner football?
What made me want to play Pop Warner football was it's worldwide and it's big exposure for college. Now,
what was your experience like this year?
It was a big experience. I learned a lot of things from my coaches. I learned a lot of things from being in Disney. When I first went to Disney, I was nervous. I saw a lot of cameras, people.
Mickey Mouse.
I was nervous. I didn't know what to do.
Right.
But when I got on the field, I was straight.
Now, how many years have you been playing?
7.
You've been playing for 7 years already?
Yes.
Wow. So have you always been with the Hurricanes?
No, this is my first year with the Hurricanes.
Okay. So where did you actually start off playing?
East Hartford Hornets.
The East Hartford Hornets? Oh, they have obviously not the high school, so they must have a little pee-wee team as well. All right, how were you guys there? Were you better than the Hurricanes?
No.
Are you just saying that because you're coach here?
No.
Okay. Hey, again, we talk about the kids and the youth and everything that you've done in the community, myself being down there, and we'll get into that a little more in the next segment. But obviously one of the important things that you mentioned, which, I applaud Pop Warner for, and obviously with you guys, keeping those kids with their education and their grades up. I know yourself as a young man who's gone on, graduated from college, X, Y, and Z, but what do you feel is the importance of, one, that educational piece, but also, we talk about as far as making not only the kids understand that, but the parents, getting them guys involved in it as well.
I think it helps early to start this process because anywhere they go forward, high school, college, NFL, you have to have the education tied in with the athletics.
Right.
One thing that Pop Warner does is it implements that at the age of 7 years old. So even at the age of 7, you have to submit your report card saying, even if you only get a progress report, it needs to say that you're at least average.
Right.
I think tying that in early not only lets the kids know you have to maintain this. If you maintain it from 7 to 15, it'll become habit.
Exactly.
But it also let the parents know, and it involves the parents more in youth sports than it did like when we played in the Hartford League. They didn't care what grades we had. They don't even know who went to school. But now it makes the parents involved because their kid don't want to get dropped from the team.
Right.
Parents got to get involved. School got to get involved. So now we built the network between the program, the school, and the community. And that's the way I think to keep it going, to make sure that when kids get to high school and college, they'll maintain it. Because there's nothing worse than to see kids go to college, have a Division I scholarship and drop out because their education wasn't up to par. That's sad.
And just like you said, habit, it builds habits, and it builds accountability and responsibility from you guys at a young age, because if you guys do want to take off in the future, and make it to that level, your high school going into college, it's going to be detrimental that you guys maintain proper grades in order to stay eligible. We conclude our first segment of the Moral Report. We'll be back to you in a few minutes. Today in studio, as I mentioned earlier, we have Mr. Philip Bryant, who's the president of the Hartford Hurricanes Pop Warner team, as well as one of his best players on the team, Mr. Kiyan Gillespie. Now, we talked about a little bit just about introducing the Hartford Hurricanes to the viewers. This segment, I want to get into, because I had a great opportunity when I went down to Florida. I just happened to be down there that weekend. You guys were down there competing in the national tournament. Got a chance to hang out with you guys a little bit at dinner. We out eating, guys throwing food on each other. The parents that attended, they didn't want to take pictures, but it was just an unbelievable experience. And I was just, again, it was just a great representation of Hartford. I was glad to see you leading the team down there. The young men that you had on the team just carried themselves with respect. But what I want to know is, getting to that point, what do you think is, because we talk about it on a national stage, a national type exposure for our young guys. What do you think was some of the biggest factors for you guys making it to that point?
Making it to the point, to be honest, I think what went under radar throughout the newspapers and everything that I came back and I read was my coaching staff. Mm-hmm. I think that, Coach Omega, Coach Boots, Coach Chaz, Coach June, we were able to gel. Now, it was funny because two of the coaches came from the Hartford Knights, where he played, and the other three was from the Hurricanes. Okay. So this was our first year coaching together. Mm-hmm. And at first, it was some rocky times because we had to learn each other. But the way we gelled, everybody played a role in making sure that we were knowledgeable enough to teach the children, and I think that that was a huge role. I work hard when I'm doing it, and I took on coaches, just happened, that was just working just as hard. So, and another thing is, we all played a role, we all played our part, and nobody tried to step each other's boundaries. I think the biggest thing is we respected one another's knowledge. Right. And I think that played a huge role. But one of the biggest roles was having people like Kai and Dex and Malik, people that was captains on the team, because on the field, it's just certain things that they got to deal with that I can't help them. Right. And having players that played in the state championship before, that had experience since they was like 7 years old playing, they were able to calm nerves when the game would get a little wobbly and, in the thick, by us playing, triple overtime down at Disney World. So, those experiences right there it was great to have as a head coach, because it almost make it seem like I did a super duper great job, when in reality, it was more spread out than most people think, because I had coaches that I didn't have to worry about defense or the line. I didn't have to worry about in the game if they're going to make the right call. I had people playing those roles, so I was just able to maintain look and then make the changes as things went on.
And again, that's just the the essence of having a good program, a good organization when you got good people around you. Every good coach has good assistants, good players around them to ensure that program runs smoothly. And you talk about, it's sacrifice. When you talk about people coming in from different organizations, putting their own individual egos aside for the common goal, which is to obviously make it down to Disney. And I'm glad you touched on that point of the things not being seen, because obviously in sports, I had I was blessed enough to be able to coach collegiate athletics. You got a chance to, to coach that level and go down to the national tournament. But the outsiders, the fans, all they see is you down at Disney. Yep. All they see is us on TV wearing a suit. They don't know what goes on behind the scenes. They don't know the hard work that's put in it. They don't know the obstacles that you face every day. It's a wide gamut of things that you got to deal with in preparation of getting your team out there, a productive team out there, and getting them out there to produce.
We made a lot of changes in the Hurricanes this season. I mandated that our coaching staff would wear professional coaching uniforms. Right. So I think that we professionalized youth sports in Hartford, at least youth football, so that we could play this role, so that when we got down to Disney, we were ready to receive it and represent Hartford the right way. Because if we hadn't took those steps, I think it wouldn't have been as successful. Right.
And then handling those things behind the scenes and setting those standards along with the people that you're working with. But with that, as I mentioned, those obstacles that you face, like, do you foresee, and I know you guys have some difficulty with different things, obviously in the city of Hartford, and obviously putting these guys on the national stage, we hope you'll be able to alleviate some of those things this coming year. But do you see some of the same issues arising this year with getting fields and different things that's
Actually,
come about?
we already ran into some issues. We was told already by the city, Dillon fees are again up in the air. Last year, if you remember, we ended up on NBC troubleshooters because they tried to charge us like, crazy amounts of money. And now we don't know where we have a practice field because now they're telling us saying Keeney isn't permanent. My thing is, I've been doing this program since 2009. Nobody gets, since 2002, but nobody gets paid for this. I think the least we should have at our resource is a place for youth to practice and play games.
Right.
That's all I've ever asked of the city. I very rarely ever go and ask them for money.
Right.
This was a Disney World run. We asked our city to help like every youth program around the nation, but we never asked them for resources as far as money to go through our season. We handle that, hit the community, parents. So we're running into the same issues. I believe it's going to get worked out though. I mean, we've been meeting. We got a meeting coming up in a couple weeks. I just think that it's important for our youth to know that their city is behind them, not necessarily in a financial situation, but in a belief system saying, here's a field, prepare yourself, and we're behind you. So I think that they should come through, at least give us something permanent so we know yearly what's going on, so we don't run into these issues.
Right, and obviously, like as you said, I mean, it's about the young people. Right. If they are able to see that right now, that things are being able to work out for them, because you want to be rewarded for your success. That's usually something you're told at a young age. These kids are, going to school, like you said, maintaining certain grade point averages, handling business, being respectful young men in a community. They want to reap something from it. And again, this is not always financial. Right. It's just, hey, some accommodation sometimes. Yeah. And with that, I can kind of go off to the next question, because what I've learned growing up, playing sports, coaching young people, sports itself, I know what I think about it, how it plays a vital role in the life of a youth in his development. What's your take on that, as far as what role you think sports plays in the youth? I think it's very important. It teaches you some things that you're going to need to pick up in life anyway, and that's why I chose football, because to me, football parallels life in a lot of ways. Discipline, dedication, determination. Those are three things in football I think you definitely got to have. Another thing I think football does is no one person can change a football game. You can't just be a good running back and run through everybody if you don't have a line that's willing to help you block. And so to me, that parallels life, and I think it teaches kids to build teammates, and you have to learn to trust people, and you got to do your job specifically and trust that others will do theirs, and collectively as a team, you guys can be successful. So to me, that's why I like football so much, because they parallel the things you need to learn in life so well, as far as career, or even if you don't go to sports after high school, but just when you go on a job, you got to trust that person doing your job, and you have to do yours. So to me, those roles, sports in general, teaches the discipline, dedication, and determination factor. And I chose football again. I knew it. I played it up until high school. Got a state championship at Hartford High. I think I told that. So but to me, those things are those are what I saw in football, and what I figured I could bring to the youth in the city of Hartford to try to teach them that. Right, and just going back to the Disney part a little bit, that experience, I mean, it was unbelievable. So I'm gonna direct this question at you, Kai. What was your experience down in Disney World?
My experiences were great. Like I said, I seen a lot of people, cameras, things that I never seen before. Like I thought I'd never seen that many people come to my football game. Right. Or I never seen that many cameras flashing in my face.
And now let me ask you, because I was at the game when you guys played the team from Texas. Okay, and when I got back, I told everybody, people that weren't listening to me probably didn't care a lick about football. They down there at the far end looking like Notre Dame, with they ready, they got their banners all up, they got the cheerleaders, their colors matching, they sharp, helmets shiny. And down there was the Hartford Hurricanes. I want to ask you, at that moment, when y'all down on that field, it's about maybe 20 of you guys, 30 of you, versus it looked like 50 people down at the far end. At that particular moment before the game started, what was going through your mind?
I was just looking at him like, we don't need all that to win a football game. We just need teamwork, playing hard, and good coaching.
Right. Like at any moment during that time, were you nervous? Were you scared? What were your emotions like at that point?
I was just ready to play.
You were ready to play? I mean, and you guys proved it because you guys went out there. I mean, listen, from jump ball, from kickoff, I guess in football, you guys proved that you guys were ready to play, and it was just an unbelievable. The amount of fans that were on our side, didn't even compare to theirs, but we probably made 10 times as much noise cheering for you guys. I mean, we were just proud of you guys all the way around, and we just, again, another congratulations to you guys. Because you guys finished what, third in the country?
Third in the nation.
Third in the nation. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Just want to finish up as we talked about a lot of things from the history of the Hurricanes to your success that you had this year. Moving forward, what do you see the Hurricanes becoming in the immediate and far future?
My overall goal for the Hurricanes is for Hartford youth football to be a national powerhouse. When you go down to Florida, you mentioned Beacon House, you mentioned Miami, you mentioned White Oak. They know down there nationwide who these organizations are.
Right.
That's my goal for the Hurricanes. So when we appear down there, they're like, y'all got Hartford. Tough times. Yeah. That's what I want to go through because I think a lot of those teams beat teams before they even play just off the sheer fact this is somebody's first time. You go, you got Beacon House, and somebody go, you got Beacon House? Oh, you're not going to win. Mm-hmm. So now they just don't think they're going to win. So my goal is to make Hartford a national powerhouse.
Right.
And so what I think that we have to do is continue along those steps of professionalizing what we're doing and taking it serious because they take it serious.
Right.
Just to give you an example how serious they take it, Beacon House beat us, played in the national championship and lost. That was a Saturday. That Monday, they started indoor training for the next season. Wow. All the youth and their program. So, that's where we have to get to if we want to be a powerhouse nationwide. So that's my goal.
Right. You talk about knocking down those barriers. Obviously, they have the structure in place to once that season's over, they probably got the facilities and different things which is going to allow them to get ready for that next season. And obviously that's something that, as you mentioned, that if we can get that going here in Hartford on any level, to make sure those guys stay focused on their goal, because a lot of these kids, they talk about making it, but being able to see it, hopefully those experiences will make you want it a little more, because it's tough. It's tough. But being able to have that in place, once you guys get back home, understand that you've turned that defeat into a little bit of victory, get that sour taste out your mouth and get right back on the field. Phil, I appreciate you coming in today, having Kai along with you. But I want you to be able to tell them all of the contact information, anything they need to know as far as the upcoming registration to get you guys set up for next year. Registration
is March 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Parker Center. You can always register online anytime at www.hartfordhurricanes.org. If you want to reach us by phone, it's 860-501-9899. We'll call you back within 24 hours. It's an automated system that'll pick up your call and you can leave a message and call us anytime. It could be at night. Email is hartfordhurricanes@gmail.com. So, we're always open to talk to people, even if it's just information.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And we look forward to you joining us again on the next edition of The Moore Report.